devo togliere, è vero? Ok, scusate. Ero ancora nella condivisione. Buonasera, scusate il leggero ritardo, ma prima ho dovuto guardare una cosa. Sì, basta, non preoccuparti, non infrango la legge, sono una brava bimba. Sto gatto che c'è qui. Scusate, non capisco, non comprendo. Aiuto! Dov'è? Dov'è il mio cosa qua? Perfetto. Come promesso, non mi sono mosso da qui. Ah, ma c'è un micetto qua, ma... sentivo che c'era un micio, ma non capivo che cacchio era. Ok, dove devo andare? Ah sì, qua sotto. Dovevo anche vederli che non l'ho fatto, ma vabbè, non importa. Perfetto.
It's been a tough few days, hasn't it? So much has been happening.
Questi incontri mi hanno messo addosso molta fame, io avrei fame a prescindere.
Hyman didn't think the meetings would go on for so long, but everyone seemed pretty fired up, huh?
Sì.
Hyman thought they'd be at least a little frightened. Well, Fremine was, now that Hyman thinks about it, but everyone else just looked a little surprised.
Bene, abbiamo un piano? Io non ho capito se hanno un piano.
Well, it's hard to say. Hyman doesn't have any experience with this sort of thing. But with you around, Hyman sure will do great.
Oh, che carina. Un attimo, chiudo la porta così non disturbo di là. Arrivo subito. Ok. Santo cielo. Scusate, oggi vi ribadisco che ho fatto tardi perché c'era l'episodio di Jujutsu Kaisen, questo che lo vedo con le mie due amiche e abbiamo aspettato la nostra vita che giustamente doveva mangiare e quindi prima doveva nutrirsi e poi per poter assistere alla bellezza di questo episodio che c'è stato oggi, fantastico.
After all, you're the most reliable person in the world, aren't you? Did you just pour some tea? Hyman didn't notice you doing
Ho
that.
versato del tè? No.
Then what's that? Hyman's never seen that cup before.
Don't be frightened. I'm just joining you two for tea. I merely refrained from saying anything until now.
La maestra di Mona
Who's that voice?
poteva
There's no one here.
almeno avvisare.
Aw, have you forgotten me already?
Wait, you are familiar. You're the voice we heard from the sky in Sumeru.
Ah sì?
The voice from the sky, I fear that description is wrong. Though, not completely wrong. You're feeling lost now, just as you were feeling previously. I sensed that confusion and
La
thus
voce del
came to
cielo a
you.
Sumeru?
Guiding people is an irresistible hobby of mine, after all.
Ma non mi ricordo in questo momento.
Consider me a passerby, just accepting a commission from my friend's disciple on a whim.
La profezia di Fontaine si avvererà.
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
What? Then is there any way we can stop it?
No.
I believe you have witnessed a failed attempt with your own eyes. Can everything in Tevat so easily be changed?
Davvero non ci sono eccezioni?
Ah, so you've caught on. Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the
sì.
gods. Could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Are the things that you shall see different from the fate that the gods perceive?
Oh, oddio.
What is she talking about? It all sounds really impressive and important and
Cioè,
stuff.
secondo gli dei,
it
quindi in
also
teoria
sounds kinda
Fontena verrà sommersa.
I believe that you understand, right? Some things are insignificant, but others you must reach out to change. Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
Essere quella variabile?
This was good tea, by the way. Thank you for your hospitality. Well, that'll be all for today.
The voice. It's gone.
Ultimo, sono stanchissimo oggi. Essere la variabile?
All right. Hey, it's you who's getting lazy.
Adesso sembra più grida, vabbè.
Well,
Grida, vabbè.
I see I've walked in on some lively banter.
Luna!
Fine, just fine. I went to take part in that Steambird panel. It turned out to be more interesting than I expected. Not all Fontanians are pessimistic about this. One journalist mentioned that sitting around and waiting for the end to come would be wrong, and that they should make their own rescue preparations.
Esatto, cioè,
I
piuttosto
agreed,
che
so
fare
we had a
così.
brief chat with her.
Ci sono alcuni che sono vabbè,
Does
basta.
she have pink hair by any chance?
Why, yes, it was Charlotte.
Certo
You
che
remember her,
Charlotte.
right? That daredevil journalist.
Bella la mia bimba.
I'm in full support of her view. Prophecies are very important, but how can people allow their lives to be commandeered by just a few words?
That's right! Paimon's glad to hear something sensible for once.
Ah, yes. About what we had discussed before. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't reach the old hag. I'll try again tonight, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. Huh?
È sicura era lei?
Goodness gracious. Are you serious?
Crazy.
She said that even the god's gaze has blind spots. Pretty bold if you ask
Però
Paimon.
è vero.
Most people would believe the gods to be all-knowing, right?
The Hexen Circle members are certainly anything but ordinary. As for the mage named N, the old hag has mentioned her a few times. She said that N's sense of
Spesso ci fa da
direction
guida,
is
adesso voglio
incredible,
conoscere questa
and
N.
that she loves guiding those who are lost. But I've never met her, and if she were still alive, she'd be... well, suffice it to say that the hag's at least a few hundred now, and N's been around for longer than that.
Whoa. The
Minchia.
Hexen Circle sounds like a scary group. But they must really stay in shape to live so long.
Vabbè, a Teyvat la gente
Their
vive a
abilities
lungo.
alone are pretty terrifying. If she came to see you personally, then the problem you're facing must truly be of great importance.
Well, it's not like Paimon could understand anything she said.
Yes, she was quite cryptic, but I suspect she means that there is still a way to turn things around. She didn't say when or what that would be, though, so...
Quindi praticamente quello che ci ha detto è che
Perhaps
secondo la
it is
prospettiva
something that
degli
you
dei,
cannot know
sì, la
right now.
profezia si potrebbe avverare, ma noi possiamo cambiare le sorti facendo un modo.
Traveler, Paimon, are you two all right?
Oh,
No,
we're
stiamo
fine.
cercando di
We're
evitare
just a
che
little
l'acqua
down right
uccida
now.
le persone.
Kind of feels like the end is coming, you know?
I see. I feel that same sense of desperation, too. I guess you could consider me someone who has often witnessed fate. So far as I have seen, it cannot be swayed. But even so, I still hope for, and believe in, miracles. Astrology is eternal and rational,
Cruele, ma può
but
essere
fate
anche
may not
bellissimo.
be. It is cruel. Perhaps that's what N was trying to tell you. Not to lose heart, and to believe that what you are seeing playing out before you is
Credo
not
anch'io che
yet
sia
set
detto
in
questo.
stone.
C'è un modo,
I
dovete
did originally
trovarlo.
think of steering clear of all this, but I couldn't. Even if this is all futile, I still wish to help everyone. If we don't struggle to the last, then how can we face the end when it comes?
Huh. You do have a point.
There I go, talking about astrological principles again.
No, vabbè,
Sorry
questa
about
volta
that.
però ha detto
The moment
cose
I start
sensate,
talking about
non mi
work
fregava niente del suo
stuff.
cognome.
Oh, I need to get going. It was worth trying to comfort you, even if only a little. I believe that you'll help those who are struggling in the same way I did. I suppose that might be why we always seem to meet by coincidence.
Paimon feels kind of moved by what Mona said, but also kind of sad too. Hey, traveler, Paimon suddenly feels like going outside for a walk. Let's go. Let's walk around the city, shall we? There's a few spots we always like to walk by.
Andiamo a fare un giro? Ah sì, aspettate che voglio fare una cosa. C'è l'evento. C'è l'evento, ok. Quello lo posso fare anche domani. Andiamo a fare passeggiata.
Huh? Our names are written in this newspaper. Let Paimon see. The underwater stronghold, the Fortress of Meripede, has continued in its noble autonomy, but that does not mean that others cannot interact with it. My recent attempts to enter the fortress bore little fruit. Huh. Guess Charlotte's still
Charlotte
giving
non
up
si è
on that.
ancora resa.
Thus, did an Outlander friend become the focus of this report. A blonde adventurer with their
Hanno
white fairy
staccato
legends
la dalla
trailing in their
diva.
wake. It is said that this mysterious traveler once visited the underwater fortress. So while the fortress's interior remains a mystery behind closed doors, do not fear, for the
Ok,
tale of the
Charlotte,
traveler
potevi almeno
contains
dirci.
surprises in spades. Journalist
Vabbè.
Charlotte's biggest scoop yet, the Traveler's Trail, World Walker. Huh. Charlotte took so many awesome photos of us and we never even noticed her. She hasn't been able to get a hold of anything at the fortress, so since we're easier to find, she's using us as the subject matter instead?
Chi è stasera? La cosa che sostiene però. Non è proprio così.
Seriously? Well, fine. Those headlines and photos do look cool, so Paimon will forgive her this time.
Non l'ha mica vendute su un sito per adulti. Ha detto semplicemente, oh, lei c'è riuscita perché lei è fantastica. Poteva andare peggio per quanto mi riguarda. Poi Charlotte si perdona. Ma cosa stiamo visitando? Cioè, non è che c'è un... Cioè, vogliamo solo visitare le fontaine?
Paimon's hungry. Should we go in and get something to eat?
Ok. Che schiarisci la mente, le idee un attimino. Ci può stare. Ma io tutte queste lucine sono solo io a vederle.
Hey,
Tutti stai partecipando.
look! That's the limited edition only 16 slices a day cake!
16 fette al giorno.
It was so delicious the last time we tried it. Despite the tense situation we were in, let's give it another go. Paimon's sure it'll be great.
Ok, 16 fette. Forse.
One slice of cake, please. Someone showed up after all.
Vabbè, una melusina, Dio mio.
Wait, you're the one from the Palais Mermonia.
Oh, are you here to buy cake too? It seems Monsieur Nervalette was right.
Due
You
buone
really can
forchette.
eat.
Anch'io sono una buona forchetta,
Did
non
you
vi.
say something like that?
That's right. Even he has his own preferences when it comes to food. As for me, I
certo.
love the cake and coffee here.
Do you come here often?
Sì, ma prendete le cose.
Usually every day.
Every day?
Ci sta.
It's part of my daily schedule, apart from work. I shall have my cake and coffee.
Oh, io ho il caffè, non la torta.
Then what if someone told you one day that this place would be closing soon, and you wouldn't get to eat cake here anymore? What would you think?
But why would it close?
Well, Paimon doesn't know either, but maybe the waters will rise tomorrow. You know, like in the prophecy.
Oh, the prophecy. To be honest, I haven't paid much attention to that. No. Still, even if there'd be no more cake tomorrow, that wouldn't keep me from having some today.
Ce la sta
No,
facendo?
no, it's the
Sta
same for
promozione
eating in general.
Puh!
You might not be able to eat tomorrow, but
stessa
if you can do
serata,
so
non va
today,
bene.
then you should carry on. That's what people call living, you know.
Baby.
Huh.
Don't be sad. Excuse me, could I have 2 more slices of cake to
Che
go?
carina. Ce le prende per
These 2
noi.
slices are for you. Sijuin said that this kind of expression you're making is what humans call being sad.
Oh, you know Sijuin?
Sono melusine.
I sure do. She was born before me, and she sometimes comes to the surface to teach us things about humans. She said that humans are creatures that are saddened easily, yes, and you can only lift their spirits
Non
by
è solo
feeding them
tramite
delicious
quello,
food.
però capisco
So
che
please try the cake
può
soon.
aiutare.
I've got something else to do, so I'll be going now. You two try to stay in a good mood after eating, all right? Bye.
Che carine. Caffettino e torta e va via.
And there she goes. All right, let's dig in. I'm sure this cake will be delicious.
La melusina ci ha preso le torte. Non ci
It's
preoccupare.
more delicious than last time, and the flavor gets even better with the sip of tea. It sure would be nice if we could come again tomorrow. Sure would be nice if we could always eat delicious food here.
Mi sto sentendo Mario. E prima c'è stato l'episodio di Jujutsu Kaisen che ci ha fatto lacrimare e anche un po', diciamo, ci sono evaporate cose.
Oh, we're near the Steambird office. Let's go look for
E
Charlotte. and have
adesso niente, vedo ste cose. Sì, ci sono dov'è l'oceano a vapore. Lo so.
Wow! If it isn't the Traveler and Paimon! Oh, have you seen the article I wrote about you?
Eh sì,
You've got some
dura
nerve.
24 minuti, togliendo vabbè la sigla e la sigla finale. Però cioè, di per sé non dura tanto. Però sì, quei 10 minuti di giovedì li tardo un po' perché appunto devo. Cioè, si deve, anche perché sono gli ultimi 8. Adesso ne mancano 7, quindi gli ultimi 7 episodi, quindi sai, siamo nel clou.
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I heard that you were in Poisson some time back,
Non
so I
essere
sent you a letter
offesuto.
to discuss just that. It appears you didn't receive it, though. It's all right, though. I've set aside the amount intended for you. I've even set the table with some food.
Really?
Ho notato adesso che a Charlotte le si vedono molto bene
You're almost a
le
little too easy to
sue
win over, Paimon.
qualità.
If I were a journalist with ulterior motives, you'd be in trouble now, you know.
Oh, Paimon knows you're not like that.
Still, what brings you here all of a sudden?
Scusa Charlotte, ho
Looking for
guardato
me?
lì so.
When Mona mentioned you, we
Cioè,
thought
di
of
so.
coming to see you at work.
I see. It seems you've already bumped into Mona here in Fontaine. So she mentioned me? What did she say?
Che sei
She
dolcissima.
said that you're a real daredevil of a journalist.
Nice. In which
Nice.
case, can this
Che bello,
daredevil
nice.
journalist dare to request an exclusive interview with the legendary Traveler and Paimon?
Huh? So your article in the paper today doesn't count?
Oh, of course it doesn't. That was more like live photography. What I'd like to do is dive deeper and ask you to talk about the things you've seen and experienced.
Yeah, are we even qualified enough?
Why not? If I say you're worth an interview, then you're worth it.
Ok, scusa.
But not right now, of course. I'll need a few days to prepare.
No, non voglio fare 2 giorni.
In that case, we'll just chat when you have the time then?
Oh, so that's a yes?
No, non essere
Splendid!
offesuto.
I'll tell the editor-in-chief
Please.
immediately. I'll have to apply for lighting, a venue, some props, and
Oggetti di scena.
so much to get done now. Talk to you later.
Quanto carina lei. Dolce.
Charlotte, Paimon's still got a question for you.
È andata via.
And what's that?
Ah no, ok.
If, just for example, Fontaine were to be flooded tomorrow, what would you do today?
Huh. That's the prophecy you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, I do hear about it often, but I've never once thought that the day could be tomorrow. if you're seriously asking, then I might try and think of a way to leave Fontaine. Oh, but I'm still a journalist first and foremost. That means I have a duty to be reporting from the scene. And secondly, I wouldn't forsake my homeland that easily.
Giusto?
From what I've seen, most people don't know what they'd do should the worst come to pass. In truth, it might be better just to behave like normal rather than worry over such an end. So in all likelihood, I'd probably still be prepping at the office for that interview of ours. I know what you're thinking. That sounds a bit sad, but I've always believed that it's best to do what you enjoy. Just think about it. If this nation really were to be suddenly destroyed tomorrow, but I still successfully finish an exclusive
Sì,
interview
esatto,
with
c'ha
a
le
truly unique
side
person, the
che
story I would
mi hanno
wind up
distratto un
writing would
attimo.
truly be timeless. And then do you know what I'd do? Well, I'd write that story, send it for printing, and use messenger pigeons to get copies out to the various nations as soon as possible. I'm not a dreamer, nor am I a workaholic, but I do love my job, and I'd be proud of leaving such an article behind. I guess you could say that I was born to be a journalist.
Ho i
But
brividi.
anyway, that's my answer.
Charlotte.
And on that note, I'll get back to my preparations.
Sì, vai.
That's so nice. All of a sudden, Paimon actually kinda envies her. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the sea, shall we? The sea breeze and scenery can be a pretty soothing combo, huh?
Che bello.
Paimon's been thinking. If it wasn't Fontaine, but all of Tevat that would be destroyed tomorrow, where would we go and what would we do? No, Paimon should ask, if you could choose, what would you like to do?
Se potessi scegliere. Proprio come diceva Charlotte, non ha senso provare a pensare a cosa farei.
We've always been moving to the next destination, so we haven't spent much time thinking about these kinds of things. We didn't have to either, with us always being on the road and whatnot.
Finché non arriva quel momento, penso che continuerò ad essere in strada.
You mean, still traveling?
Vorrei un singolo attimo, con a disposizione per rimirare il mondo.
Oh.
No,
Wait, isn't that
non
what
voglio
we've
piangere di
always been
nuovo. Sono forte. Sono una bimba forte. Tutto sta andando bene.
Feels like you'll grow mold if you stay here long enough. But it's still better than the Fortress of Meripede, that's for sure. It's not only damp there, but salty too.
Ah, so the two of you are still here. Wonderful.
Oh, ciao Isadora, con lei che viene sempre per conto di Nuvilette.
Yes, I'm Isadora. Monsieur Nervillac sent me to look for you two before. I heard that afterward you went to the fort. Not at all. I'm well aware that you're friends of his.
Oh certo,
Actually,
dimmi.
I'm here to pass along a message from him. Yes, inside the Opera House. The Marie-Chaussee Phantom has declared the incident a small-scale riot.
A riot?
Well, that said, I don't personally think it was that serious. Lady Farina was watching a performance at the Opera House, and while she was resting during an intermission, some other audience members suddenly started harassing her, loudly accusing her of doing nothing about the prophecy crisis. And before she could respond, others started to join in. The crowd continued to grow, and protests against the Hydro Archon started to break out.
So people have started to put the blame on Farina. Guess they finally found an outlet for the pressure they've been under due to the prophecy.
I agree. People will naturally rely on gods, as is customary. But the moment people feel threatened, gods are also the first to be blamed.
So what happened after that? Is Farina okay?
Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control and that further argument was pointless, she claimed that she'd gotten tired of this
Posso anche
and left in a
comprenderla.
hurry. The Marie-Chaussee Phantom had their hands full maintaining order and did not catch where Lady Farina had gone. Only when things had stabilized did we realize that she had gone missing.
So, you mean she's still missing?
That's right. The Mar-Chaussee has dispatched many people to search for her, but we don't have any leads yet.
L'abbiamo vista
That
pochi giorni fa,
said,
però.
I don't think there's much to worry about. She is a god after all. Even if she were to fall into the hands of rioters, what could... Good. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to tell you about the situation, but he didn't say anything else.
Don't worry, this is more than enough to go on. Thanks for keeping us informed.
Ah, is that so? Well, all right then. In that case, you two take care. I'll be heading back to the palais now.
Palais, non riesco a dirlo. Ah,
Well, sounds like we should hurry over to Poisson then. If we know Farina, she won't try to fix things in this situation. Instead, she'll look for a place to wait out the heat. And as we also know, she may be loud and dramatic, but she doesn't
no, non
have
è
a heart of
assolutamente
stone.
insensibile, anzi è anche fin troppo sensibile e purtroppo la capisco, quindi
Whenever I was talking
le
to
voglio
her in
bene.
the Palais Mermonia, and she heard about Poisson, she couldn't hide her sadness and remorse. It would be hard for her to ignore being accused by the public today. Paimon thinks Farina's probably taken the opportunity to slip away to Poisson and try to relieve the sense of guilt that she's feeling. Huh. Well, what do you think? Paimon knows the answer, of course, but Paimon can do the analysis to back it up too.
Sembra che i romanzi polizieschi ti abbiano aiutato davvero
In
tanto.
that case, there's not a moment to lose. Poisson, here we come!
Andiamo alla veloce.
This place looks deserted. Guess all the survivors must have evacuated already. All that's left here are signs of
È meglio non
devastation.
tornare qui in fretta.
Could Farina really be here? Let's try to find her as soon as possible.
È davvero qui. Ehi,
That's Farina, right over there. She really is here all on her own.
Should I just give up? This is all meaningless. What was meant to happen did happen after all. Everyone's dead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Give up, Farina. There's no point in holding out.
non ti devi arrendere adesso.
I'm sorry. But what can I even do other than to repeat meaningless apologies over and over? Who's that?
Tranquilla,
Don't
siamo
worry,
noi.
Farina, it's just us.
So it is you, blonde traveler from another land. Why, I almost thought you were someone from that mob of my ignorant subjects. Come to kneel and beg for my forgiveness.
Farina, you were crying just now, weren't you? The tear stains on your face are obvious.
What do you mean, tear stains? Oh, I remember. The show at the Opera House earlier this morning was so moving. I'm still trying to process it. Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were?
Va
Disturbing
bene.
my enjoyment of the arts. They even dare to tout their Archon. I must teach them a lesson.
Farina,
I
va
can just
bene aver
imagine their
paura.
twisted and frustrated
Va
faces
bene.
once they realize that I'm nowhere to be found. Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Mar-Chaussee Phantom are freaking out right next to them too. Of course not.
Me lo puoi
Hey, there
dire?
she is! The Hydro Archon's over there! Quick, after her!
Lasciatela però in pace.
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are. They're just some rabid fans who want to cut the line because
Diciamo
they
proprio
haven't
no.
been able to meet me in person, aren't they? That's against the rules. I can't let them get their way.
Me la fanno provare?
Farina just ran
No.
off.
Giusto Giusto, non l'ho ancora provato. Non ho ancora provato purino. Il pathos di... Non sanno ancora fare bene gli inseguimenti così. Sembrano delle slide di PowerPoint. Tre persone hanno fatto un rumore di 3 cavalli.
This should be the place, right? Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to Paimon before the rest of them catch up to you.
What is this place?
Hurry, they're almost here.
Fine. I suppose haste is warranted. Lead the way.
Trappola? The trap? O forse è solo un modo per poter parlare con lei?
Paimon's exhausted.
I'm so tired. I totally thought they had caught me. No, I mean, I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed.
Questo posto non è sonorizzato.
You're right. Yep, that's a good girl.
Come? Oh no.
What's happening? The ground's shaking. Is it an earthquake?
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
It can't be. It's happening again.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Nevertheless made some emergency plans, so the evacuation should go a lot smoother this time.
Yeah, I hope you're right.
Abbi fiducia in lui.
But the people of Poisson, they've already... It's true. I've been investigating the prophecy for hundreds of years.
Okay.
I once had informants all over Tevat, searching for clues and feeding information back to me.
Ma?
I've tried all kinds of ways too to hold back the sea. Anything to keep the coastline from advancing. But all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. Really, the truth has been clear to me for a very long time. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly principles will have its way, and the prophecy shall be fulfilled.
Non ti sei ancora arresa, giusto?
Give up. I do love the sound of that phrase. It would mean finally coming to terms with fate.
La voglio
but also
abbracciare.
for me to finally be free. Indeed, I've thought about giving up so many times, especially after we almost lost Poisson. Fate is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. The prophecy has only just started to come true, and so many people have already lost their lives. But just now, it all became clear to me. I still don't have the right to come to terms with fate on behalf of everyone else. As long as the final moment hasn't come, it's still not too late. Don't worry. I will keep hope alive for everyone until the very end.
Devi farti aiutare, però.
Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden, but honestly, considering my rank and station, that wasn't a good fit at all. Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly let Fontaine fall to the whims of trivial prophecy?
Come on! Paimon could have sworn you were actually being honest just now.
Esatto, non portare questo fardello da sola. Il tuo popolo è più che disposto a condividere il tuo fardello con te.
Share my burden. that's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty
sono
alone.
arrivate 30 milioni di cose. Ma anche il tuo fratello non deve essere condiviso. Condividilo con me. Sono la testimone.
A witness. Yes, I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, you never belonged here.
No, ma anch'io l'abbraccio.
And if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a spectator, aren't you?
Esatto, quindi
If that's the case...
dimmi tutto. Sono qui. Sono qui.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So, this is what it is. Yes, you deserve praise for the effort you took to raise the dramatic stakes. Do not forget, however, that I am Focalor, the god of justice, the embodiment of justice itself.
Ed è scomparso il coso. Ah no, siamo scesi dal coso, ok.
Bit absurd to bring the very concept of justice to trial?
May I interpret these words as your refusal to stand trial? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god?
I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it. She just surrendered.
What the heck is going on? Did I just see an Archon surrender to a human?
Wow, how utterly humiliating.
Lady Farina, what is the meaning of this?
It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding. To be clear, the raising of both hands is not always an indication of surrender.
Looking for excuses again, huh?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my acceptance of the trial. No duel shall be necessary. I will admit that I've been running away for a long time. I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. It is my duty to stand trial for my crimes. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. I, too, am exceedingly disappointed in myself. But now, it is time for the Hydro Archon to show you her courage and resolve. I, Farina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice. This time, I will protect you. Applaud and rejoice. One of the most outrageous and fantastical arcs known to the opera epiclese is now unfolding before your eyes. Mark my words, this shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine. The trial of the Hydro Archon, Focalor, will now begin!
Woohoo! Oh, now we're making history.
Why does it feel like Farina just took over the whole thing?
È la parte più lunga questa, perfetto.
Can't she just get forced to stand trial for her crimes? Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic, She is taking this seriously this time, right?
All right, then. Who will be my opponent in this trial?
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well.
Non mi sto
Then
una
speak
applaudire.
witness up to that, my accuser and fated opponent.
Eravamo così, ci vanno a confessare, siamo comunque finiti così. E così sembra poter capire tutto. Ok. Quindi è solo un modo per metterla sotto pressione e farci spiegare le cose. Santo cielo, Furina!
Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question before the trial begins. Just how much work did you do to force me onto this stage?
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward and easy.
Navia, the president of the Spina di Rosula.
Sì, l'ha appena detto.
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as regular audience members, waiting for the
Guarda che
perfect
belli i
opportunity
disegni.
to... The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more of the prophecy is fulfilled. A spark was all we needed to turn smoldering anger into a flame. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, when something like that occurred, you would likely flee the scene and head to Poisson by yourself. So, we arranged for a second group to lie in wait there.
So, you mean... the ones who scoured the settlement for me were also from the Spina?
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate in the greatest magic performance in all of Fontanian history.
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed at the Opera Epiclese, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Areneas. Its cargo, of course, was an Archon instead of a human. My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an extraordinary performance.
You're welcome?
Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off. We had to select a location, construct a giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up a path through the water. It was a lot of work for all of us.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the giant magic box was just a normal tremor from the transportation of the whole house?
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately ready for a fight.
Quanto è bella Clorinda!
Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may commence without a hitch. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of Fontaine would accept a duel with an Archon without flinching.
Thank you.
As for
certo,
you, traveler, I suppose your role was to keep me distracted with conversation once you found me in Poisson.
In realtà volevo farti
You'd make sure
confessare.
that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived onto the stage.
Oh?
La mia missione consisteva nel darti un'ultima opportunità. Speravamo che condividessi il segreto con noi.
Is that so? Then I suppose I must have missed my final chance. It's fine. It matters not. What's done is done. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the very end.
Madam Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial. According to her, it should speed up the proceedings.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too!
Minchia.
Hey, Charlotte! Oh, let Paimon see. Isn't this the exclusive interview that she did with us before?
Ma noi la stiamo accusando per farci dire come salvare Fontaine, cioè, perché lei sa più di qualcosa, cioè se lei non sa ancora come fermare le cose, quello è vero. Però
Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, all right?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the
oh no,
very first duel
oh
you
no,
took
che in sta cosa.
The fortress of Meripede was almost... According to Miss... I nearly lost my os... The words of someone as extraordinary as a witch.
Sì, no, non voglio. Grazie.
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Vabbè, ma c'era Arlecchino, volevo vederli.
There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However, you will...
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud, who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Fate parlare più spesso Lumin. Mi si sono evaporati i vestiti.
Archon for forsaking her duty, but did I hear that right? She's not our Archon at all?
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. How can I be guilty? There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah. Even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure,
responsabile. Perfetto.
But what grounds does that prosecutor have to make such a huge claim?
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since they were born. There would be no fooling their memory. See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you
voglio
sure
distruggere
you
sto
want to commit
Oratrice.
to a charge that will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the god of justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation.
Ma è tutta colpa
We will treat
dell'Oratrice.
everything that's happened as a dramatic spectacle and...
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? You have to not only refute Farina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
La gente vede solo con loro Archon perché questa è casa abituata a credere.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask. If you believe I'm not the Archon, then what manner of being do you think I am? And if I was not the Archon, then how did I manage to live for over 500 years?
First of all, you may be a member member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended lifespan. And second of all, even if that wasn't the case, there could be other ways to extend your life.
Ma guarda, io odio l'oratrice, quindi se non passerà la serata sono molto contenta di questo. Ma ha sempre dato una puzza intensibile.
So low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
You sensed it too, huh, Neverlet?
Lady Farina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them. It's not impossible.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said, how does that prove that I am merely a human being? Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. Gods can do what humans cannot. That's why they're worshipped as gods. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the indemnitium that is used in every aspect of life.
Ma non è vero. Ah, non parlavi di nubiletto, parlavi del... Cosa in contemplazione?
But weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared Child to be guilty without any proof? Otherwise, you should have come up with a good explanation for that by now.
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend. There is no need to provide an explanation.
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you are also first and foremost the defendant in this trial. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against the rules of the court.
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon. Well, now you're really
Forse è stata creata la prima Archon, quella che è morta. E poi quando è arrivata lei non sapeva come usarla.
The Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. And it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just carelessly demonstrate the formidable power of an Archon?
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro, much less the authority of a god?
Indemnitium! Yes!
It's all because of indemnitium. All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into indemnitium. Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives. Have you ever seen a more magnanimous god?
Rina, io ti capisco, ma basta mentire.
A huge stretch.
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
A parte che gli Archon sono potenti anche senza i poteri, senza
Seems
comprenderlo.
like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. Please don't stare at me as if I was a liar. I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? The one that you loved. Shouldn't you want to believe in me? Please? You've got to believe me.
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed a grave offense.
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And all of our ancestors? Ever since they were born?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is?
Adesso indichiamo Nubilette, Nubilette dice tipo cazzo fai?
Another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such. Then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. How can we refute her now?
Non si è arresa fino a mo' nonostante tutto. Perché adesso dovrebbe farlo?
That doesn't sound right. Paimon doesn't think this.
E che palle, io pensavo... Questa?
That doesn't. That doesn't.
Allora, immagino questo. È l'ultimo rimasto.
It has been established that all Fontanians can dissolve in water from the primordial sea. And that means...
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now to eliminate all suspicions of you being the latter.
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor,
ogni
you
volta
must still
Navia
adhere
che
to proper
interrompe.
procedure.
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. I swear this really will be the last time that I'll speak out of turn.
È sempre Navia che interrompe Nubilette. E Nubilette... Navia, amore, dopo. Dai, siamo a corte, dai, per favore.
Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area not long ago, taking many lives, including those of some of my closest friends. So, Miss Farina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen your case. But, if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Madonna, Navia, anche te c'è delle qualità.
The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us. Would she really dare to try?
Farina.
Lady Farina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings, you possess the right to decline participation.
Well, of course he had to tell her that.
But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word. It really does seem like she's quite terrified of it.
What's going on? Is she really planning to... That's not what we thought she would...
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may...
Hey!
Mi sarei cagata sotto anche io.
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here! I haven't been dissolved! Will you believe me now? I really am your Archon! I'm nothing like a normal...
Aspetta, Farina, vuol dire che anche tu avevi dei dubbi. Anche tu.
Really? Was this not the most obvious thing in the world?
Miss Siegewing? If you are present, Miss Siegewing, please come forward and attend to the defendant.
Che ci fa così giù?
Win, don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. Let me see.
Ciao, patata.
That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court, Miss Siegewing.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. These indicate that she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected
Anche Freya
is
Test
the
ha
same as
subito
other humans when exposed
pelle
to
rossata.
primordial
Ma
seawater
non l'ha mai
of a
detto
similar
nessuno.
concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewing. Lady Farina, you may return to the defendant's stand.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to prove my innocence?
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something entirely unexpected might occur, we don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked the head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have...
I can't believe... You... Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks. What happened just now didn't prove a single thing. Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't also be affected by the primordial seawater? Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water? Please, everyone, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her now.
With all the things that have been said, Hyman doesn't think there's any way left for Farina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is... guilty.
scusate.
We shall now turn to the oratrice mécanique d'analyse cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the oratrice mécanique d'analyse cardinale, Farina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the oratrice's verdict?
No. The oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct then?
Condannata a morte,
However,
vero?
the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty to be punished via the death sentence.
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice? What an unexpected twist.
Farina's been sentenced to death by the oratrice? We just wanted to use the
Esatto, non volevamo questo.
seriousness of things so she'd tell us the truth.
Il nostro obiettivo non era questo.
Things escalate this quickly.
Noi, quando
This
distruggiamo
outcome is
sta
indeed
cosa.
quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Non è appropriata.
Even Maschera wasn't sentenced to death by the oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Hai messo una sentenza contro l'arco.
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
Volevamo solo farle vedere che la situazione era seria.
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it. I assume this means you've completed your mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to
Madonna.
try and find the missing slate.
Arlecchino è stata
I looked
bravissima.
everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water. But has the trial already concluded? Then...
Non è ancora
doesn't
portato
that
per il
mean
momento
I've
di
come to-
gloria. Vai.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, believe that you have already seen the other existing slates.
Vengo. Va, mi ci butto da te. Mi basta che mi prendi in braccio, arrivo.
So what do you see? What is it?
L'arcon di Art precedente trasformando gli oceani in esseri
I
umani.
believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Farina, and we've already proven that she's not the Hydro Archon. So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kinda talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates.
Raga, sono 3 tavole. Ok. Oddio, mamma.
The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then
Okay.
the Oceanids turn into humans. Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh,
Allora forse
Paimon
potesse
wasn't
essere
expecting
invertito,
that.
ok.
But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then the second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky and the Hydro Archon and her people
All'inizio
worshipping
del
it
cielo
together.
incombe ancora su loro.
The heavens
Non
still
hanno
brought
apprezzato
judgment
questa
down
cosa.
upon them. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon sin are the same thing? The third slate shows the Hydro Archon seeking into the sea surrounded by many people. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after that incident, it was just a question of when and not if.
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial seawater. And this might be the reason that Fontanians can dissolve.
Ah no, ho sbagliato, volevo solo... Voglio sentire di più la voce di... Mostra Celestia, che flutta nel cielo e racconta Darius proprio che lavorano assieme, ma il giudizio del cielo incombe ancora su di loro. No.
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervilet mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates.
Sprofonda nel mare. Navia.
It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
Sul trono piangendo.
The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontanians to dissolve. It seems increased. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light.
Quindi?
Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now. So that's how you can make sense of it. But then it feels like we're going to have to share some truly shocking revelations.
Let's hear them.
Gli abitanti di Fontaine non sono veri umani.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial, all of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
Il crimine dell'Archon è stato quello di creare gli abitanti di Fontaine prendendo le Oceanidi.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission.
Vabbè, ma Celestia che palle, però.
That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of history are often the most unexpected of all.
Dopo la quarta.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea?
Ho capito, c'è la porzione
Trying to
automatica,
show the
andate.
image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate? In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should finally be informed of the unadulterated truth.
Hai fatto bene, hai fatto bene. Vai, Nubi.
Well, did you get it?
L'ha appena toccato.
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct.
Ok.
In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land.
Guarda quanti gocciolotti bellissimi.
The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the 7, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids.
Tutte quelle Oceanidi che erano scappate.
Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race.
Fa sta cosa
The
davanti.
Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your
Il
regular
fontainiano medio.
but it does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the 3rd and 4th stone slates was inaccurate. The slate's respective positions are, in fact,
Cosa
correct.
rappresenta?
A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids. They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of Trials and Justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the Court of Justice. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
Lei è rimasta lì.
So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold.
E noi volevamo
So now it
soltanto
seems
mettere
we're the
pressione,
ones
lei non
making sure it
volevamo...
comes true.
What should we do?
Sembra quasi che sia inevitabile.
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner
Faccio una
of fate?
puntina. È da mo' che ogni volta c'è una profezia, dobbiamo sconfiggerla e viene avverata, ma forse è proprio quello che proprio fa in modo che le cose vadano da un'altra parte. C'è però anche la signorina N che ci ha detto sì, si può avverare, ma questo non significa che dovete arrendervi, sia nel non farla avverare ma anche se si avverasse.
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions.
Ok, dimmi.
About the fourth slate, you probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes?
Sì.
However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
La balena? La balena. È l'unica cosa che mi viene in mente. Lui torna qui.
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
Eccoti. Quanto cazzo sei figo. No. Ben arrivato. Ci siamo fatti arrestare per te. È bellissimo però suonarvelo. Shield.
That was way too close! How did that thing just burst into the opera house? Wait.
Sì.
Was that the huge whale you saw in your dream?
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will be—
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians nigh impossible to resist. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food. Food in the form of Fontanians.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed. That's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end. No matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
È comunque nata così. Combattere il destino è impossibile. Ma se si tratta del destino.
Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
Perso. Ok, vabbè, fa niente. L'avete ignorata. Povera.
What's happening with the oratories?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
No, I still need answers.
che carina!
You.
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
You are not Farina. Who are you?
The sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question, I am Focalor. You know, the god.
Focalor? Why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I was to stand any chance of deceiving the heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles?
It's all
Sempre
because
colpa
of
di
that
Celestia.
pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria for the uninitiated. It hardly gets more disastrous than a preordained national catastrophe, now does it? She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found myself in. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized there was only one possible solution to this confounding conundrum. I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least, while saving
Sempre colpa di Celestia, sempre.
I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not to mention the original sin of creating a new race of humans, I dare say she left me quite a colossal mess to clean up. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand?
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress. to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy. Under the curse I placed on her, so long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to live her life in the pursuit of happiness. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part of the god from the prophecy, all to create a deceitful appearance of that prophecy coming to pass. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Farina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human being. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure. It must have been torture for her.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years, and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all time.
Non posso creare un legame emotivo come ho fatto con quello Challenge. Il mondo interiore di Farina. Andiamo a parlarle, saremo solo noi qui, immagino. No, siamo... è incredibile. E niente ragazzi, si va avanti.
Oh, who permitted you to come onto the stage? Now, I understand your admiration for my august self, but I must ask you to keep to the rules. All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not distract me from my performance. Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontanians are upon me. I must, at all times, display the utmost...
Ok, non devo guardare.
Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon enough.
Now, stabilize. This is order.
E vabbè, è arrivato.
Get a little chilly.
Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards?
Okay.
Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
Supporting fire! Bow your head.
Muori, quanta vita ti rimaneva? posto d'onore? Vuoi l'attenzione solo su di me? Sciamo di fronte allo specchio. Furina.
Farina. Farina.
Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are you?
Be not nervous. Be not afraid. I am before you.
Wait a moment. You're... Mirror me? How can this be?
Mirror me? Oh.
Mirror you, huh? You know what? That's not bad.
Mirror me? What do you wish to say?
The prophecy. Have you heard of it?
What prophecy? Wait. I know. I think. I don't know why, but it's in my head somehow. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the hydro...
Oh, very good. You know it well.
What's going on? I can't seem to remember anything clearly. The only thing I know for sure is this prophecy. Will it...
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you. Disaster will come to Fontaine sooner or later. Things will develop just as the prophecy declared.
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontainian just like them. Will I dissolve too?
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people a chance to turn things around. It is the reason why you met me today. I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer somewhat.
Non tutto adesso.
Oh, so there's still hope after all. Goodness,
Gli occhi sono invertiti. Non l'avevo notato prima.
So much and with so much certainty. As for the suffering, well, I will admit that the first thing that came to mind was, but if the prophecy will come true, I'll also die anyway, right? So if I've already met you as my magical meeting in this world, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side, and my pain on the other, is it not obvious where the scales should tilt?
You truly are the perfect human. My ideal. I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has just lost its Hydro Archon. I need you to play a role.
Allora,
That of
è
a new
molto
Archon.
bella. È molto bella. Sono felice che Furina sia comunque è la parte umana dell'Archon, quindi è l'Archon ma la sua parte umana. L'ha detto lei, si è proprio staccata e ha creato Furina. E infatti gli occhi sono anche invertiti, questa cosa è dolcissima. Ma credo che Fossilor ci stia dando il suo ultimo addio, cioè dopo questo credo che Fossilor morirà per sempre, ma l'ha fatto per salvare Fontaine, perché ha detto questa cosa purtroppo succederà e non lo posso evitare, ma posso salvare tutti. Va bene che accada il disastro, ma io salverò tutti.
Play as a god?
That's right. You must begin
Però comunque
a
rimangono
never-ending
che comunque sono la stessa
masquerade.
persona, ma si è
You
staccata.
must never
Non
let
ha fatto come
anyone
Jolie,
suspect your identity.
che Jolie si è fatto vedere morto, ma lui è ancora lì, lui è ancora Morax. Semplicemente va in giro a dire che si è dato un nome umano, ma fine. Non è come Jolie, non si è spaccato, lei sì. Forse secondo me forse sta parlando come una persona che ti sta per dire addio, letteralmente.
If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But should your identity be revealed, then all hope will be lost.
But how will I
No,
do
no,
this?
questo l'ho capito perché siamo nella mente di lei,
Assuming
questo
the
l'ho
role of a
capito,
god
questo l'ho
without being
capito.
exposed.
Don't worry. What you must
Nubiletta
do
sta
is not
parlando
to
con
turn
forza loro,
yourself into a
mentre
real
noi
god.
stiamo
You
vedendo
simply
ciò che
need to
Furina
play the role of a god
ha
as humans
vissuto.
imagine them to be. Being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know what such an entity would be like. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity, but contending against humanity.
I'm still not sure I understand, but
Amori. Mirror me, una cosa
try to do
dolcissima.
so how
Mio
long am I
riflesso.
going to have to play
Ma che
this role?
bello.
To accomplish this mission, you will have to stay on the stage for many, many years. You will endure and not grow old until your task ends. But I promise you, all will eventually end in a magnificent and dramatic trial, and everyone will be saved.
A trial, huh?
Minchia, io che Fontaine
How
piange e
exciting.
basta.
I'll be looking forward
Datele
to
un
it.
abbraccio, anche a Yuki. No, sì, però è anche bello dire se tu sei il mio riflesso, c'è qualcosa di molto bellino. Sì, ho capito, gioco, dove devo andare, per favore. Per favore. Non è che è iniziato anche abbastanza presto? Dovrebbe esserci il... Esatto, prima faceva ciaf ciaf.
The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession, but this is my first time facing the people. What should I say to most appear like a god? To be honest, I still don't know.
Beh dai, va bene.
Perhaps I should first try
Va bene.
to act natural.
Non faccio neanche troppo tardi, mi va bene.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the Opera Epiclese. I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. Indeed, I am Farina de Fontaine, your new Archon.
Narvalo di merda. Cilde però mi ha sorpreso, è stato bravo.
In
Senza
truth,
volere ha salvato
I
tutti.
know little about becoming a nation's new god, but it will be my honor to guide you all. As the god Fosalor, the god of justice, I shall do all within my power to lead you into an age of fairness and justice.
Con
Once
garbo.
again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the Maison Cardinalise. The future of Fontaine will require us to work together, after all. This should do it.
Hai fatto
I
bravissimo.
thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was able to convey my thoughts just fine. Okay,
Ultime goccine qua.
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses humanity would be a bit more
Oddio.
assertive.
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions there at the end.
Vabbè, questa è la
Shouldn't
gente che non
gods
si
be
contenta mai.
all-powerful? She's being so modest. What's the difference between her and an ordinary person, then?
If you ask me, perhaps the succession didn't actually happen. She might just be a
Sì,
Maison back
vabbè.
Wait, what's going on?
Why is everyone suspecting me of being a fake? Oh, this is bad. If I get exposed here, there'll be no saving the people from the prophecy. Right. Mirmi said that I just need to play the role. Calm down, Farina. Think. What do the people want? How would they imagine a
Non
god
dovrei
to
più
speak and
fingere con
act?
me, con nessuno.
With a
Non
strong
più.
sense of presence. One who can dispel all doubt. That is the character I'm fated to play.
Dai.
Oh, very good, my people. Only ones such as you are deserving of my rule. Now, I was wondering if some weak puppet were to one day come onto the stage and claim ownership of this opera house, would the children of Fontaine follow them? Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you are qualified to witness wondrous trials alongside my august self. Here, you may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it was a debut that suited the atmosphere. Now then, let us be reintroduced.
I am Farina.
So that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were inside an opera house?
Minchia. Era così facile. Raga.
Such a fascinating and bold deed.
Ogni tanto gli audio però droppano. So perché. È il gioco, non sono io.
It seems I've turned them around. Best follow this flow and restart my accession speech. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, keep faith in your ardor for justice. We have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer be washed away. Well, I say that justice is most fragrant when it blooms amid sin. The scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, it must carry fairness and justice. And on the other, praise and applause. May law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. Let us light the fires and drink to the future of Fontaine. There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve. All that is needed is for you, my people, to believe in it, heart and soul. So long as I, the Archon Quest, stand within the Opera Epiclese, so long as I stand before the oratrice, I shall even judge the gods of this world!
Minchia, con empatia. Con empatia. Va bene. L'ultimo atto. Teatro dell'opera. Furina. Sì, però non mi fa ravvicinare. Oh, posso correre?
Lady Farina, here are today's case reports, as well as a summary of the follow-up for your perusal.
Come now, was I not just at the Opera House in person?
Sì,
Leave these kinds of things to Noodlet. Besides, none of these trials were the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
If I may be so impertinent...
A magnificent, dramatic, and wondrous trial. A trial to end all things. How could you hope to understand?
That's true, I fear I lack the ability to grasp your divine thought, Lady Archon.
Poverino però.
No need for fright.
Signora voce
And do not
sconosciuta.
take what I said before too seriously. Go now, do your duties. The trial I await. It will come one day.
Lady
Farina. I don't know what to say. Thank you for agreeing to see me.
No need to thank me. Or rather, thank your own sense of perseverance instead. Long have you stood in line to meet me, have you not? Oh, I'm afraid that's just an inevitable consequence of my divine charm.
E Nubiletto ha sempre capito che lei stava nascondendo qualcosa. Ma ha sempre rispettato.
You remembered me, and you knew of my family too. He is doing much better now. In fact, he is far more of an ardent believer than I. He was the one who forced me to seek an audience with you, and to bring your words back to him.
Oh, good. Very good. If this should happen again in the future, please do not hesitate to come and tell me. Going down to citizens' homes every so often, while not usual practice, should serve as a fine change of pace.
You're such a gentle and wise God. Thank you once again, on behalf of my son.
Lady Farina, here are the latest hydrological reports.
Quando cercava di
As
indagare.
for the specific parameters you asked to take note of, I'm afraid things still don't look good.
I see. It's as I thought then. As your god, I did already expect this, but I wanted to see how far your human wisdom would allow you to analyze it. All manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will still come to pass. Forget it. That's
Che
not
poi
something
forse
you
allora
need to
hanno
worry
che fare
about right
questo per
now.
nascondersi da Celestia.
Well, as I understand it,
Colpa di Celestia,
the
sempre.
Fontaine Research Institute is
Ribadisco.
also trying to find a way to counter the rising water levels.
Really? Have they found anything?
I'm afraid that they haven't found any effective solution thus far.
Oh, is that so? Well, no wonder. This issue has reached the realm of the gods after all. Still, their spirit is praiseworthy.
Un letto.
The day is finally over. I haven't had a moment to breathe this whole time. But it's good to see that everything's getting on track. There are no longer any voices of suspicion. Maybe this is fine. I just need to keep going, and everyone will be saved. All right, Farina, don't think too hard about this. You need rest. Tomorrow's a new day.
Mamma mia, quanti atti.
Lady Farina, here are the new trial reports for the latest cases as well.
There'll be no need for that.
Lady
Okay.
Farina,
Indeed, my dear, loyal citizen. This joyous moment is an honor for us both.
Lady Farina, we're detecting significant hydrological anomalies near Poisson.
Understood. Keep monitoring. Keep me informed should anything come up at the Institute. I don't think I let anything slip today. I must show the people that there is nothing to worry about. I just don't know when these days will end.
Presto, adesso presto.
I'm exhausted. Best to rest early today too.
in grado di parlare, faccio minchia che palle per anche lei.
I've heard that the first member of our family who was honored to receive an audience with
And what a fine family yours is indeed. It brings me great joy to meet such a faithful believer, a descendant of a line most ardent.
Surely you exaggerate.
Però c'è stato un po' poco arlecchino in questa quest.
My lady?
Poco arlecchino.
What is it?
Are you crying?
Oh, really now? I didn't even notice. This must be the
Sì,
overflow of
l'eccesso
hydro
di
from my
hydro.
person.
Adesso devo dirlo anche io.
Can't
Ho l'eccesso di
being
hydro.
God whose dominion is the waters, can I?
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your power,
Anche
then.
questa signora però è veramente un po' stupida.
Honored to have witnessed it. Honored indeed.
Però questa sono io. Tutto bene, sì. Lacrimoni, sorriso enorme.
So interminable. So lonely. Just how much longer? Hundreds of years must have passed by now. Perhaps the show must go on for hundreds more.
Vai tranquillo.
I never imagined that it would hurt so much. Have I reached my limit? No. Perhaps I reached it long ago. Today
Se solo
I didn't
fossero
even
avessi dato la
notice my
possibilità di
own
parlarne
tears.
almeno con Nubiletto.
I want to tell someone, anyone, about this. But would that not destroy all I've done so far? I've conducted so many investigations across the centuries. But there's
E
not
nonostante
even
tutto
a
comunque è
sliver of
andata
hope
avanti.
that we might break the prophecy.
Comunque è andata avanti.
Is keep heart. I must maintain this act. It is the only way
andata
to
avanti.
save Fontaine. Please, mirror me. You have to succeed.
Purina.
Farina, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone. Your people are more than willing to share your burden with you.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone.
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, you can still choose to confide in someone. Just share it with me. I'm what you'd call a witness.
A witness? Yes. I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, you never belonged here.
Io sono la
And
variabile.
if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a spectator, aren't you? If that's the case... She's right. I could confide in her, couldn't I? But if things don't play out as expected, the people of Fontaine will be the ones to pay the price. No, Farina. You shouldn't be selfish. But what if it's really alright?
Noi siamo la variabile, quindi
You've worked so hard for so long. Surely it would be okay to put yourself first for once. Just this once. Is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find someone in whom you can
adesso sono curiosa di fare la sua quest.
frustrations and sorrow?
Adesso voglio fare la quest di Furina.
Surely
Tantissimo.
it could not hurt. If you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, it might never come by again. Think about it long and hard. No, I have nothing to say. I am Farina, the Archon of Fontaine. Everything will surely get better. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness my performance until the curtains fall.
Quindi non ce l'avrebbe detto comunque. Perché era la sua parte.
Fine.
Va bene. Lo accetto.
So even Farina doesn't know the truth? You've never once let her in on the full plan?
Yes, it had to be done. To deceive the heavenly principles, you must first deceive yourself. She did very well. If she had let her resolve falter even once in these 5 centuries, Fontaine would have been doomed to the most tragic fate. It seems that trusting humanity was the right decision after all.
I believe that I understand how your deception works. But that is only half the truth, is it not? How would you build on this foundation to save the people of Fontaine? That is the most important thing.
Ah, good, good. Of course, the Iudex of Fontaine has pinpointed the crux of the issue. I'm sure you've long sensed that the Oratrice is no simple machine, yes?
I've always suspected that it had its own consciousness. And Lenny did mention that he heard a human voice within the core chamber. It now seems that that person was you, hidden within the machine all along. Am I right?
And then I became one with the Oratrice, taking Fontaine's gnosis with me. Yes, it would seem so, wouldn't it? Alas, your understanding of this device still lacks sufficient depth. In truth, it is no enactor of justice. It is, in fact, a device created to kill the god of justice.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, you have it. And to be more precise, not only will the Oratrice take down the god of justice, it will also take down the divine throne upon which she has been placed. I mean, did you think I would be the sort to enjoy peaceful repose while Farina suffered? My work over these last 500 years has been to constantly accumulate indemnitium within the Oratrice. But really, some have already discovered that only a small fraction of the energy generated by the device was ever used to provide power to Fontaine. The vast majority has been, had to be, accumulated to enact this death sentence.
It was all part of your plan then? Both the trial and the sentence?
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained Fontainians for millennia, had it only been used for that purpose. Almost all of it has now been stored within the Oratrice. But only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne, shaking the rules established by Celestia, and breaking through the institution that is the
stanno un
Seven.
po' rompendo le regole di
So the Oratrice's
Celestia.
call for death was for neither Farina nor Focalor, but for the Hydro Archon. The destruction of that divine throne. If I do not misunderstand your intent, you must be...
Returning what's rightfully yours to you, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to the Hydro Dragon of this planet.
But...
Oh, what? Getting sad again, are we? The authority of the ancient dragons shall soon be yours once more, O Hydro Dragon Sovereign. And this is the face you make.
Movie.
All you've done throughout the years is just so you can sacrifice yourself at the very end.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm quite pleased at how well my deception worked.
No, dai. Oh, no, non mi fate piacere lui. Basta.
Hydro Dragon, don't cry. I must say, had it been within my rights, I would have loved to judge the heavenly principles themselves. Were they not guilty of essentially the same crime? Egeria stole the power of the primordial sea, and the heavenly principles stole the power you ancient dragons possessed. I, for my part, am the god of justice. And is it not just that your original powers should be returned to you? Speaking of justice, I have always believed that justice lies in the process of pursuing human existence itself. So, if the theft of the primordial sea's might was Fontaine's original sin, then, leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontanians as humans and their right to exist in this world would be Fontaine's original justice. In other words, existence was Egeria's justice, and to me, justice is the continuation of that existence. Defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontaine's people shall live on, that should be the justice enthroned over all others.
Lo sapevo che mi stava
At this
dicendo
point,
addio.
we, whether
Lo so
it be
perché
myself or
lo
all
sentivo
other
dentro.
Fontanians,
Oh, anche il
have
fatto che aveva una
shouldered the
cazzo di
burden
spada
of
che le
this
camminava addosso.
sin for far too long. Iudex Neuvillette, the highest judge in our land. When you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign, what verdict shall you pass upon us?
So when I was invited to the court of Fontaine to serve as Iudex, I see now that that was your idea too. At last.
Ma meglio tu.
I now understand the true purpose behind this position. In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought about mutual understanding between us. And I have even attempted to feel as they feel. You are a devious one, Focalor. Things being as they are, surely you know that I could never declare them to be guilty.
The hour of my execution is almost here. For the sinner, the curtain call has come. I know I may not sound it, but faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Neuvillette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
Vivi felice.
I, Iudex Nuvelet, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.
Mi sono anche evaporati i vestiti nel frattempo, però va bene.
What just happened?
Nadia,
Has the death sentence been carried out?
appoggiati. Quindi
Was
qui.
that bright light some sort of misdirection? I have a feeling that something huge just happened.
But since we're all still alive and haven't been dissolved, I assume whatever happened was good for us.
It's time to end this. We must mete out punishment to that beast.
Io non ho più un'anima. Io voglio solo
I
picchiare
have
quel
gained the
narvalo.
strength sufficient to deal with it. Through certain means, I now have the ability to separate the power of the primordial sea from that creature. We should seize the opportunity to pursue our quarry.
No.
Traveler, now that the oratories can no longer function, I require an executor to help me mete out justice.
Ok, ok.
The
Lo
root of the
picchio.
calamities befalling Fontaine.
Volevo distruggere
The beast
l'oratrice.
that enacts the prophecy. Its name is the all-devouring Narwhal. Come with me, traveler. The hour of execution has
Ma
come.
vengo subito, non me lo devi neanche chiedere. Io sono già dentro con te. Tu vai. Non me lo stare a dire che bello. Sarebbe bellissimo, dai. Così.
But how are we going to do that? It's huge!
Che bello.
I've already done my best to separate the power of the primordial sea.
Ogni passo.
I cannot reach the power source. Unless I can find a way to attack it from within. I shall share a part of the ancient dragon's power with you. We shall look for an opening together.
Mi sto facendo un cazzo.
I can feel the sorrow turning into hostility. Silence! Fight!
No!
The all-devouring narwhal cannot resist its instinct to devour. Continue to trigger its hostility. Chance will present itself.
Che bello. Mi sento... Ah, è vero.
Why is there a lot of people over there? It's very scary!
A moment, please. I have granted you my protection. Do not fear. Seize the moment and use my power to suppress its root from within.
Don't get too close. Here's backup. Crumble.
Non ha capitato.
The tides beckon.
Ah, mi compare sopra. Plof. Ma con che eleganza. Si digevolve. Succede adesso. Ciao. Salve.
Thanks for helping with the cleanup. It should have been my job, but oh well.
Ma allora, lei, io so chi è lei. Tu non sai chi è lei. È l'unica cosa che mi sono spoilerata. Cioè, proprio la scena con Navia, cioè, vabbè. Ma lei so perfettamente chi è. Ah, ok, perfetto.
It was just supposed to be a short private training session for me. I didn't think that my disciple and my master's pet would start brawling in the meantime. Well, actually, I had a feeling that it would happen at some point, but they bumped into one another earlier than I thought. What a blunder. I suppose I'll have to swing my sword 3 million times as penance.
Center Price. Ah, Kirk.
Who are you exactly?
La cosa bella è che io per sempre avevo creduto tantissimo che fosse un uomo. Poi dicono, e poi arriva là e dice, no, era una donna.
The impression that she was the less talkative person.
I simply did not have anything to say to the weak. But you, on the other hand, managed to defeat the all-devouring narwhal without using power from beyond this world. So you may speak to me as equals. I have to agree. It's a strange use of a planet's primordial waters just to raise an all-devouring narwhal. That kind of power is wasted on it. It's not cooperative. It eats too much. And I have more important things to do with my time than pet sitting. The only thing that creature has
Vabbè,
going
tuttora
for
non
it
avevo
is its
più
looks.
letto su Child,
All in
cioè,
all,
nonostante
it
ce
fails
l'avessi.
as a pet.
E quindi ero rimasta fatto, c'ha il pene. Arriva Voglio e dice no. E io, ok.
The point being?
Well, being that this pet almost destroyed an entire nation. So what sort of person is your master? Well, Child's master's master. Wait, is that right?
Oh, right. So you don't know him. Sorry, I assumed you did. His name is Sertologi.
Chi? È davvero chi?
I am unfamiliar with that name.
Huh. So Master isn't sufficiently famous.
Uno che si chiama quasi come una tartaruga.
How should I describe him then? Have you heard of the name the Fowl?
The Fowl?
Still nothing? Well, how about the Visionary? Vedafonir then?
Quanti nomi?
Or Gold Rhine Daughter?
Ooh, that one we've heard. Rhine Daughter's part of the
Si sono invertiti.
She's Albedo's mom, right?
Oh, so you do know that name. To be honest, I also heard all of those names and titles from my master. I don't actually know them either. But I suppose you understand now, yes? My master is likely a similar sort to Rhine-Daughter. They are both pursuing some form of perfection.
Wait, didn't you also mention a visionary person? Paimon didn't quite catch their name.
Actually, never mind that. I believe it expedient to inform you that the all-devouring narwhal used up nearly all its strength fighting you. Such roiling hydro energies will prove difficult for the planet's deep seas to digest. As such, the fontaine back on the surface has most likely been thrown into chaos. In other words, the prophecy that you've been fretting over should now be in full swing.
What?
Not to worry. Focalor has already managed to deceive the heavenly principles.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only Farina will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Raio, hai tirato fuori la nave? Dimmi che hai tirato fuori la nave. Dimmi che hai tirato fuori la nave.
Hey! Help! Over here!
Cazzo, Bryce.
All hands, initiate emergency rescue!
Guardalo!
Hurry! Hey, lend a hand!
Madonna, io mi apro a quest'uomo. Vai, Fremine. Guarda il mio bimbo.
Look! The water's receding!
Vabbè, il peggio è passato.
It's a miracle!
Water's receding.
We didn't dissolve. The prophecy was wrong. The prophecy was wrong.
Cioè no, però abbiamo perdonati. Quindi... Yeah. Va tutto bene, Farina. Va tutto bene.
The prophecy was wrong.
Va tutto bene, Farina. Che bella. Che bello.
The Soto renewed. The Spina di Rasula talks post-disaster rebuilding.
Che belli
Recently visited Poisson to meet with Miss Navia, spokesperson of the Spina di Rasula. Old soil can still give birth to new bloom, Miss Navia stated. Hope is like seeing a skyship winglet, lunar bane of the Fontaine Research Institute.
Che bella la Wingala.
Disputes that have arisen on account of Mr. Edwin have suddenly become a shield over the Institute, with Jurier turning out to be a once overlooked hidden gem. People always call the first researcher mad, but few know what to call the second. And should that latter person achieve a miracle, they would find it all the harder to find a... Wow! Paimon barely recognizes the people in the reports. Are those really Jurier and Navia? They sound like real big shots.
What do you think? Pretty enthralling, huh? The Steambird's idea was pretty simple. With the disaster just having passed, we would print a free edition packed to the margins with good news to calm people down. The value for these big scoops lies in their inevitable follow-ups. We'll publish further reports and go into the stories behind those people. Edwin's assistant, Jurier, created a true flying ship, while Navia is leading people in the reconstruction of their home. I'm sure that these stories could draw even your well-traveled eye.
Paimon's curious too! wait a minute. Didn't we watch everything happen from start to finish? What's there to be curious about?
And that's exactly why I'd like you to come conduct interviews with me. You're the best incubators of news, if you haven't noticed. And also, with you around, I'm sure I'll get to see that Duke.
Are you sure? Hasn't he turned you down several times already?
Oh, this time will be different. Come on, let's head to Poisson first, and then make...
Per un domani migliore. Posso parlare con Nuvi? Ok. Allora. Cos'è? Cosa c'ho ancora? Ah sì. Quindi devo andare al palais? Devo andare al palais. Ma no, i vicini, no, un paio. Vado? No, devo finire la quest. I vicini le faccio un'altra volta. Andare a Cusson. Hai da andare a parlare con Nuvi? Ah, dopo dici, ok. Okay.
Oh, it's you.
Hey, we're just having a look around.
I'm here to update myself on how things are going here.
Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Garunt Snežević. He represented the Knave in sending us a large amount of supplies, and is helping with our work. Our residents are hard at work as well. Thanks to everyone, work is progressing nicely. We've lost a lot of people, but we're moving forward.
Hello, Miss Charlotte. I'm a big fan of yours. I especially like that article you wrote last year about Fontaine's stray cats. But if you don't mind, could you not emphasize our role too much in your report? It's not charity we're doing here. We just...
I get where you're coming from. I'll keep it as simple as possible. Or would you be willing to feature as friendly neighbors?
That would be fine. Thanks.
Oh, you're back too. How are things?
We finished laying down the construction materials. It'll be another hour before the workers are able to go over there.
Huh? You're here too, Clarence?
Well, her reputation's greatly risen after that whole duel business with Miss Farina. So she's here in Poisson to wait out the heat. All right. She really came here to help me out.
There's too much to consider in the reconstruction of Poisson. The Spina has need of more decision makers. And, well, I do already happen to be connected to Mr. Callis.
Oh, wait just a moment. Do you mind me asking a few questions? You know, about how you felt before the duel.
Forget it. I'm sure you can find a better theme than that, Miss Charlotte.
I see you're the same as always. Couldn't you do me a favor, for Navia's sake?
Well, if we're talking about doing things for my sake, you might as well just take a few more photos of me. Or of the Traveler. It's better than wasting time persuading Chlorand at any rate.
No, io non voglio
Of
fare
course I will.
interviste.
I'm not gonna let her off that easy. All right, then everyone who wants to be in the photo, gather up. And smile.
Che carina.
How did it go? Was it a good shot? Did Paimon look cute in it?
Not bad. Your addition really helped the composition of the picture. All right, hang on a moment. Let me snap a few more shots.
Ah, Madonna.
All right, that should do it. I'll be back here later anyway, so let's call it a day.
Okay.
You're very quick.
Speed is of the essence when it comes to the news, and freshness is the key. Also, not to brag, but I'm pretty good at building connections. Who knows? I might eventually get that interview with you after all, Miss Chlorand.
Wow, You really do have that never say die spirit. I'm impressed.
I'll hazard a guess that this is how you got that interview at the Fortress of Meripede.
Whoa, you're well informed. Let me make a guess too. I asked Sijun
Io l'ho chiesto a Signe che l'ha detto a Nuvilette. Che l'ha detto a lei.
That's a very complete information chain.
In truth, all Monsieur Neuvillette asked me was, when did the fortress become so friendly towards the media? I told him that it was best not to speak too soon. There's no guarantee that Ridsley will make a personal appearance.
You're right. I've got to treasure every moment I have with them. In which case, I'll be making a move first.
Stay safe now. And tell me if you hear anything interesting. I'll...
Aspetta, ci proviamo a fare questo.
Wow, guess we're here again, huh? There's a real nostalgic feeling to this place.
Looks like you've been missing us.
Dude, did you come
Ciao,
all the way to the
bell'uomo.
entrance to greet us?
Of course. I'm here to welcome you and our dear Miss Charlotte, whom our good head nurse recommended to me.
It's an honor to finally meet the much-rumored Duke. Thank you for consenting to my visit to the fortress, sir.
No need to thank me. But that said, I shouldn't be the focus of your interview. I trust you recall our agreement?
Of course, of course.
Dai, lei è brava.
All right then. This way.
Ah, l'abbiamo già visto. Cosa accendiamo? Cioè, poi ci vado solo per lui. Ah, i famosi due che stanno assieme, ma non lo dicono.
Hey, no need to be so nervous. I've already taken all the photos we need. Miss Charlotte, do these pictures really need to be published on the cover of the
Vi
Steamboat?
bananetto.
It would seem that Miss Lorvine doesn't want her face to appear beside that of Mr. Jurier.
Sì, esatto,
Sir,
esattamente.
please don't say things like that.
But it looks like dear Mr. Jurier denies it. Might this interview be very important to you then?
No, I just... This is my first time being
Madonna
interviewed, and I'm
santa.
very thankful to the Steambird for...
Now, I might not look it, but I actually did meet Mr. Edwin once. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed chatting with you more. You've definitely got more of that genius vibe going on. The boat that brought about a miracle, the ark that saved the people. Why, you recreated a myth back there, like an emissary of legend. Still,
Sa come
if I
farsi
might
amare
ask,
Charlotte.
where's that flying ship now?
Huh. Looks like Charlotte's trying to get herself another exclusive scoop.
I have to apologize, but that ship is presently in the bowels of our factory. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to get a shot of it.
Really? Well, then in that case, could I have an interview with you to make up for that loss?
Guardala. Guardala.
You already know my answer, I'm afraid. Best you interview our head nurse instead. Or perhaps you'd like to take another photo of this couple of researchers?
Did you really have to use the word couple? Well, then, 2 solo photos will do.
Is my hair messed up? Please, someone help me have a look.
Things sure are getting pretty lively here. We've seen this kind of thing before. Oh, seems like everyone's here. Would any of you like to try this new drink I came up with?
Oh no, i drink.
Ah, Sijween.
Hey, Miss Charlotte. Why don't you, take some pretty photos of our head nurse?
Dategli uno specchio a quel coniglio.
Sure. Come on, Miss Sijween. Over this way. Let's find a brighter spot.
Huh? Sure. Do I have to smile?
Sì, sorridi che sei bellissima.
She's been at the fortress.
Same old, as you can see. Fontaine's undergone some changes, but this place is still more or less the same.
Other than that flying ship, it got a tad too much attention, I think.
That's why I decided to let the interview go through. We should direct more public opinions toward the behind-the-scenes heroes. Am I right, Mr. Jurier? Miss Lorvine?
You're too kind, sir. I believe that you too should have your day in the sun. Not that you would want that, which is a pity.
I'll just leave the spotlight to you two. I see.
Dovrebbero
Lots of things
spiegarlo
happened that
perché
day,
l'ha
huh?
detto anche lei che lei è mezzo
Anyway,
umana e
regarding
mezzo
that
così.
harbinger, I'm not sure you remember, but
Me
his 3
Lucia
young
non...
followers are still waiting for his return.
Probabilmente sì. Probabilmente sì, ma lo spiegheranno nel
I'll
suo
tell them that
quest
there's good
perché non
news
hanno
and
ancora
bad
detto
news.
niente.
The good being that their
Credo,
boss seems
una quest
fine,
comunque.
and the bad being that they must face extended sentences for abetting his escape.
Oh, actually, what about you? Are things gonna change for you too?
No, non mi puoi
What
distrarre.
change can there be? The fortress will keep chugging along, and so will
Oh,
my
it's
duties.
fine.
As to
I'm
what Miss
sorry.
Farina's departure will
Get
mean
a
for
new
the
billet.
nation, and if our laws and governance will be transformed, we'll leave those to the folks in the overworld.
Hey everyone, the photo shoot's done.
Good. In that case, let's call it a day here.
Thanks for your cooperation. Come on, traveler, let's go. Till next time, everyone.
There'll be a next time?
Maybe. Who knows? I
Come
might
la
write a
prossima
story
volta?
about the underwater factory next
come?
time. Until then.
Io non l'ho sentito. Sì, ok, ciao.
All right. Last stop, the docks.
Oddio. Sento arrancare. Lasciatemi andare. Guardami che giù. Allora? Oh. Era tutto calcolato. Ok, parliamo con Line, ma avrei voluto parlare di più con Arlecchino.
They really are here! How did you know?
Navia
Mi sono
mentioned that she
un po'
stayed in touch with
cacata,
Linny and the others
però ho
after
detto,
working together. Apparently, they've been at the docks distributing these strange pockets the whole time since.
Ah, le borse.
Traveler, Paimon. Ah, and Miss Charlotte, too.
Would you like a magic pocket? What sort of gadget is it?
It's a wondrous bag that can be used to carry many things. The water level has returned to normal, but if you see any of your things floating around, you can use this to carry them. Or you could trick a friend into doing it for you.
Trick a friend? I wonder which of my friends would fall for that.
Che cosa? No. Te li vai a prendere da sola, nuota.
You could just make a friend like Fremine here. Isn't that right, Fremine?
Is this what you meant by I'll help you make some more friends?
To be honest, that sounds pretty sweet. Could I have your contact, please?
Sure. Please, write down my address.
You sure are working hard to help Fremine socialize.
He was the one who proposed doing this. He even wants to assist in our magic shows.
Tornerà a casa così, scusate. È che Fremine non poteva prenderlo perché è venuto fuori con Jolie e Jolie veniva con le nuvilette e niente. Quindi...
Yes, I was planning to first introduce Pear as an assistant, and later Fremine himself. In the future, I think we can leave underwater escape magic to him too.
That said, would anyone want to see a diver escape underwater?
Oh, it'll work out. Every journey begins with the first step. He'll become a part of our show eventually.
Lynette, could you come over? Miss Charlotte says she wants to take a picture of us.
Got it.
My, that Charlotte is rather perceptive. She got rid of everyone the moment she realized I had something to say to you. So, how have things been, Father says that you did a great deal during the latest events. She's very grateful for your contributions to Fontaine.
E tutto questo è la gnosis?
Alright, we were more than happy to help.
Oh, I guess guess you haven't heard. Well, after Lady Farina left, Father and Monsieur Neuvillette opened negotiations, during which he gave Fontaine's gnosis to her as a diplomatic gift.
Ci credo. Nuvi. Nuvi. Perché?
Yes, I was quite surprised at first myself. But when I thought it over, there were actually a number of things going for it. It could have been done as an apology for the incident with Lord Child, or as thanks for his help in tying the all-devouring narwhal down. Furthermore, Father did also lend significant aid to Fontaine and Poisson.
Dalli bastone.
The gnosis we're talking about. Doesn't this seem a bit irresponsible?
I would agree, but I've also heard that it seems that Monsieur Neuvillette has had a significant change of heart regarding the matter.
So there's some reason for this that only Neuvillette knows about?
I suspect you'll have to ask him about that yourself. Ah, yes, speaking of which, I did see him strolling around the entrance to the fortress of Meripede a while back.
Isn't he real busy and stuff?
Effettivamente.
Time for that. But back to the topic. The gnosis was given to the knave, right? What about Kyle?
They say that he's returned to Snezhnaya to recover from his wounds. I hear that the recent disaster really did a number on his health.
Quindi non ci siamo neanche potuti salutare io e Childe. Io c'ho ancora la sua vision, però. Io ho ancora la sua vision.
Shocked by such a simple switching of sides?
Father.
Well, what do you know?
Salve.
Come to the docks to see how my children are doing and meet the traveler.
Per caso. Non ci
Please
credo,
do
ma
not pay my
salve.
accomplishments in Fontaine too much mind. I would have done them regardless.
Are you going to take the gnosis back to Snezhnaya?
Oh, guarda, la butta a mare.
That is our duty as harbingers, yes. Don't be too preoccupied with sides. The goal of the Fatui concerns not a single place or person, but the entire world. With such a grand goal in mind, it is inevitable that we must wear many masks. Switching my masks is something I've always done.
Però mi sono fidata ed effettivamente non mi ha deluso. Ha voluto veramente cercare di fare tutto per salvare Fontaine e dare una mano. Arlecchino, il mio rispetto.
Well, that depends on many things. No one truly knows what the future holds. What good is honesty if you can't rely on it forever? As for you, I very much look forward to our next collaboration. Good things cannot be achieved alone, and you've proved yourselves to be great partners.
Mi messo bene una cosa, per favore, facci consegnare questo.
A vision? All right. I'll remember to return it. Thank you for keeping it safe for him this entire time.
Anche il mio. Ultimamente. Mannaggia a lei e ai suoi occhi da Xbox.
That's a wrap for me. Huh? You're...
Greetings, Miss Journalist.
Hello. If I'm not mistaken, there are diplomatic channels I'll need to report to take a photo of you.
That is correct. So forgive me, but I will not be able to serve as a subject in your article. However, feel free to write as much as you'd like about our dear magicians and our upcoming rookie
almeno le diamo la vision per Childe.
The sea breeze is quite pleasant. I shall continue my walk while the weather remains so agreeable. Farewell.
Farewell, Father.
Oh, she has such an intimidating presence. I didn't even dare to take a picture. Thankfully, I've already wrapped up all my pre-scheduled interviews. Thank you all. This'll be more than enough for me to write about, I'm sure.
Don't be too nervous. Why don't you take a magic pocket before you go? Here, traveler, Paimon, you take one too.
Queste famose magipulse che all'inizio che ce le stanno.
That's right. Funny. I was giving out magic pockets when we first met too. And what do you know? I'm doing the exact same thing right now. So many things have happened, but I guess this must be life. We will all follow our own paths, and serendipity will lead you to your fated friends. All right then. We'll be handing out pockets in some other districts later, so we'll get going now. Have a good day, you two.
Well, guess we sent Charlotte, huh? Shall we go see what Nibble's doing? As long as he's not so busy that he doesn't have time to chat anyway.
Il culo al signore è dovuto andare, il cretino. Ma lo so che manca pochissimo. Sì, non mi far cadere per terra, ti giuro visuale che tiro un pugno. Oh. Un pugno. Poverino.
Really? Oh, I suppose you must have met Mr. Linney. He took the time to greet me earlier when he passed this way.
Velocissimo poi.
In any case, you came at a good time. I was just considering reaching out to you to set up a meeting, so I may explain some things that I haven't had the time to before.
Oh no, è arrivato quel momento.
That you remembered. Thank you for keeping us on your mind, what with you being busy and all. All right, let's have it then. How was Fontaine actually say?
It is strange how words can often leave a bitter taste in the mouth when it finally comes time to say them out loud.
Perché noi eravamo esattamente dall'altra parte.
Oh, so that's what happened? Focalor destroyed the divine throne of the Hydro Archon and restored your power to you, transforming you into a fully fledged elemental dragon.
È un drago cresciuto adesso.
But Paimon still doesn't quite get what you did to save the Fontanians from dissolving.
For me, the authority of the ancient dragons refers to absolute control over the hydro element. Fontanians were incomplete humans born of Egeria's use of the power of the primordial sea, with constitutions similar to that of mimics. But so long as those primordial energies remain within them, I could use the ancient dragon's authority to grant them true blood, after the fashion in which life was first brought into being on this planet. In other words, when I gave my verdict, Fontanians became true humans, and thus would naturally no longer be dissolved by water from the primordial sea.
Focalor must have counted on you to make that decision as well. Your verdict was the key to making the prophecy appear to have come true, whilst... Yeah! And in a manner of speaking, Focalor finally managed to fulfill the original Hydro Archon's wish to turn Oceanids into real people too!
It seems from your expressions that you still have more things you wish to ask. Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it. I have investigated his case along many avenues, and I have learned that he once fell into an unknown chasm when he was young. There, by chance, he awakened the all-devouring narwhal. But whether it be by sentiment or reason, that should not have been enough to consider him the root cause of the disaster. At most, he would have had tangential liability. As for the judgment passed by the Oratrice during the trial, whether it was due to that liability by association, or Focalor deliberately using him to buy time for us on the assumption that he would be able to hold the creature off, I cannot say.
Guess Focalor had Fontanians in mind the whole time. In the end, it was thanks to her that they finally became real humans. Hang on a second. Paimon suddenly got another question. Back when Fontanians hadn't yet become real humans, were the children they had also transformed?
Life has always flowed like water. Do you recall how Fontanians would often come to the Fountain of Lucine to pray for children?
Yeah! Lynette said the fountain is where all the waters in Fontaine converge.
In truth, even those couples did not know that such prayers were no mere custom, instead a form of ritual. Those Oceanids who were blessed within the spring water would later descend as new humans in the coming months.
Paimon sorta gets it now. Either way, it seems like this ritual won't be—
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Yeah, about that. Risley said Farina has already left. What's that all about?
Ah, Lady Farina. The people are only aware that her death sentence has not been carried out. She abdicated the post of Hydro Archon and left affairs related to that title to me. I related Focalor's words to her faithfully and completely. After hearing them, she seemed neither saddened nor comforted. She simply said that she was tired and needed to rest. Having said that, she then packed her things and moved out of the opera house. Not unlike how an ordinary person might.
But she's still got a place to stay, right?
Deve solo avere il tempo per se
You need
stessa.
not worry. I will make arrangements to ensure that she will not want for food, clothing, board, or travel. In truth, I am somewhat happy for her. The wear and tear on her spirit will, of course, take time to heal.
Il drago.
But now that she no longer has to play the role of Focalor the Hydro Archon, she can finally lay down her burdens and lead a normal life.
What about you then? What are your plans now that you've regained your full powers as the Hydro Dragon?
After Focalor passed on, the Oratrice also ceased to function. This matter will directly affect our trials. After much careful consideration, I've decided to take over its role in our courts. From now on, I shall hear cases and pass verdicts by myself.
Looks like you're still considering stuff from the perspective of the Udex, huh?
Quindi
As an elemental
momentaneamente ho
dragon, there
adesso
are
due
indeed many
Archon
things
io.
that I must do. But this power and this duty, in a manner of speaking, you could say that both were granted to me.
Ho I due
As
draghi,
such,
due
before I
Archon.
attend to my other responsibilities, I must first and foremost continue to serve Fontaine as its highest judge. The duty of the Hydro Sovereign and the duty of the Udex shall coexist within my person. Additionally, the Hydro Archon's departure has brought about another problem, which is that the Opera House shall no longer produce indemnitium.
That's true. That power was derived from the people's faith in the Hydro Archon, wasn't it? Wait, but the various mechs and machines in the city are all still—
As I am now, I have full command over New Musia, and it can serve as a complete substitute. Another reason why I cannot quite leave Fontaine immediately.
Wow. This ancient dragon's authority stuff is really quite useful, huh?
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Sinceramente, dai, no, così.
Oh, that's right! They say you've given it to the
Leaving aside their intentionality, the two Fatui Harbingers have indeed done much for us during this crisis. Their sole remaining goal in Fontaine, at least at this point, would seem to be the Gnosis. The Oratrice has ceased to function. The Hydro Archon's divine throne is now no more. And I do, as such, it has lost all meaning for Fontaine. If the Fatui have impure designs, we might as well accede to their request now, and avoid unnecessary conflict.
Lo so.
complicated considerations.
Esattamente come Jolie alla fine.
Out of gratitude to the knave and as an
O anche
apology to
Naida.
Chaya.
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it. You will soon be heading to Natlan, I presume. I'm afraid that I have little talent as a travel guide, so all I can do is tell you what I know about that land. As far as I'm aware, Natlan can be said to be a nation of dragons.
A nation of dragons? You mean like you?
No, I suspect that I would not find myself welcome there. Unlike ancient dragons such as myself, the dragons of Natlan have undergone long years of development and evolution. Large numbers of them have entered a form of coexistence with humanity. Natlan is also the nation of war. War ravages those lands like an undying flame. There is one other piece of information I got incidentally from my negotiations with the Knave that I believe may be useful to you. The Harbinger known as the Captain has thrown his hat into the endless ring of war.
Capitano. Sounds like a real tough customer. Seriously, everywhere you look, there's a Fatui Harbinger doing their thing.
I suggest that you fully prepare yourself before going to Natlan. In the meantime, Fontaine's doors will always be open to you. Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
A posto, non ho più niente.
Hang on a sec. Paimon's still got a question.
C'è la guerra, io non voglio la
When we
guerra.
spoke to Linny earlier,
Dove c'è
she
Capitano?
mentioned that your attitude attitude towards giving away the Gnosis had clearly changed. We guessed that there might be some reason for it that only you were aware of.
No wonder the House of the Hearth is the Fatui's intelligence division. They are certainly sharp. So regarding this specific issue, I was just getting ready to share something with you.
What is it?
In truth, I exchanged some further words with that lady named Skirk after sending you two back to the surface. It went something like this.
Praticamente ho detto che è bello che ci sia la terra dei draghi. Il problema è che c'è la guerra. Io non voglio la guerra, ma voglio il capitano. Se mi ricordo bene chi è capitano. Dopo vado a vedere. Non mi interessa di Skirk. Non me ne frega niente di quella donna.
Well, we're going to head topside to see what's going on. You hurry over soon as well, all right, Nervalet?
What next?
The all-devouring narwhal isn't here, so I'm no longer getting any interference. I can finally catch the scent of your power, what it's made of. It is the authority of the planet's primordial dragons, but with something very similar to a god's curse mixed in. It's quite a novel blend. I'm sure I've encountered something like this before. What was it again?
I do not know what you speak of.
Of course. How could I forget? You should have the remains of the third descender on your person, yes?
Remains? I've never heard of any such thing.
According to your parlance, I believe it may be called a gnosis.
Well, that much is true. After Focalor's divinity faded, she handed her gnosis to me. But I fear I have never heard of it described in the manner that you just did.
I've been training with my master, the Foul, ever since I was young, and I have never returned to the surface since. So most of the information I possess, it is only natural for those who are greater than humanity to possess a different sort of common sense, which is why there are so many problems in our attempts to communicate with humans. Regardless, you should probably get rid of objects of misfortune to prevent any disasters from befalling you. To live in itself is a blessing. But once a person dies, the bonds he once had with this world shall all turn to curses.
What do you mean by that?
No need to fret. These are just my personal thoughts. And my reason for no longer wishing to return to the surface.
This third descender you refer to, who are they? And when did they die?
Master never mentioned them to me. Perhaps it just wasn't that important for me to know. If you're interested, though, I could ask him. I'll be sure to pass the answer on to you next time.
Next time? You believe we will meet again?
I do. Wait. I have a disciple of my own, don't I? He can be the messenger then.
Mi sembra stanca, Skirk. Me ne frega un po' delle cose. Vabbè, io sto qua.
That's what she told me. Whether it would prove useful or not, I wanted to pass that information on to you.
The remains of the third descender? So that's what the Gnosis actually are. Paimon just thought they looked like chess pieces. How could they be a person's remains?
All the same, assuming that there was no misunderstanding or special metaphor at play, that is what she meant to say.
And she said that it would bring misfortune and that you should check it, which is why you gave it to the Fatui.
If she speaks the truth, then I would simply be putting Fontaine at unnecessary risk by keeping it here.
La prima è che non sono francese, la seconda è che c'è prima di me è già morto.
I had guessed that you might already be familiar with this concept, but I did not expect you to be one of them. That means that the Gnosis, which are exceedingly element-compatible and can even enhance elemental abilities, do indeed come from the third descender. I wonder, does your body also possess similar properties?
Vuoi controllare Nubilet? Scusate, è mezzanotte.
Like being
Dai, devo andare al lavoro, per favore.
No, let's not think about this stuff right now. It just feels creepy. Comparing the Traveler to the dead third descender and all. That's what you say, but this topic still feels like bad luck. Once Child recovers, let's get some more answers out of him. Or go look for his master and get the answers that way.
Non è che ho voluto cominciare io alle 21.
I too
Ci metto
believe it
3 ore a
unwise
dire
to make too many
300
blind
cose.
guesses when information is lacking. This
Alright. Whatever the case, it seems like the crisis here in Fontaine's over for now.
Yes. All of Focalor's efforts were for this moment as well.
But she sacrificed herself in the end as a god, and she suffered through all those years as a human.
I suppose that would be the mystery of a god's will. I suspect not. But once in a while I too would guess that if wishes were like the clouds in the sky, they will one day return to the earth as raindrops. Life flows like water, and rain is the final answer. The water levels may sometimes tilt one way or another, but the rain falls fairly upon all. And what ultimately is the difference between the rains that fall upon all of us?
Oh, yes. Se proprio. No. Non abbia. Ah, vedi, nabbia. Magari. Faccio un wish. Se era bello lo vedevo anch'io. Oh cazzo. Perfetto. Va benissimo così. Io corro via. Grazie a tutti per stare con me per 3 ore. Ne passa la pena. È stato meraviglioso. Ciao belli. Ciao 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 ciao.